I don't like Star Wars. Now I'm fully aware that saying this is often akin to walking into a party and saying, I don't like fun. And don't get me wrong, I've got my fair share of abuse because of it. It is in this post that I intend to outline why it is I don't harbour the deep love for the Star Wars franchise that most other people do. I'm going to leave out things like the fact that I'm personally not a huge science fantasy fan, and try and keep in mind the time it was released, along with mainly focusing on the original trilogy. While the little plot holes that crop up every so often bother me to a degree, they don't detract from the whole experience that much. I'm referring to things like Luke's sudden learning of the Force, and I guess the fact that Luke was in love with Leia, who turns out to be his sister, just rubs me the wrong way. My issues can be broken up into two main categories, the story structure and the combat. If you see my post on Fairy Tail, you'd know that I'm not a huge fan of the light versus dark dichotomy. To reiterate, I don't find it realistic to have a character that is wholly good or wholly bad, and in a franchise like Star Wars with the premise itself being so outlandish, it is important for it to have grounded characters. I've never met someone who is identified as evil. People don't do that. They might think that they are bad, but I struggle to believe that people would turn to the dark side. Even if they were corrupted, I find it hard to accept that they would just give over to the dark side so easily. People know drugs are bad, but turn to them anyway for relief. People turn to the dark side because they want power, sometimes for themselves, sometimes to protect others. My point being that I don't see why anyone would voluntarily join something called the dark side. Even the Sith refer to it as the dark side, and Sith alone sounds evil. I mean, I know if I was a Jedi, I would try my hardest not to succumb to and join the evil cult who dress in dark clothes, have dark red versions of the normally blue or green lightsabers, and openly admit they are evil. I feel the rogue side, or something along those lines, would have been better. Instead of people who turned evil, people who don't care about the idea of using the Force for good, and instead use it for their own gain. Fallen knights, if you will. Another issue I have with Star Wars is the fights. The problem I have with them is weight. Lightsabers seem to have a weird sense of weight that changes inconsistently, yet never seems to be where it needs to be. The blades never seem to have the heft of a metal sword, nor do they seem to glide through the air like one would imagine with a sword made out of pure light. Instead, lightsabers seem to act more like balloons rather than actual swords. When the swords do clash, it is often apparent that the actors are stopping the swords. The yellow effects that come out when the beams do collide don't do much to help this. By the end of the original trilogy, the problem has been noticeably improved upon, and the prequels improve on this by speeding up the fights and adding in some inventive choreography. For something similar yet executed better, I suggest we look at Sword of the Stranger. The sword swing fly left and right, colliding with sparks over and over, yet you can still feel the weight in every collision. Adding a sense of weight to the lightsabers and swords is key to making a believable fight. In the end, it is these small little things that all add up to create a product that is not as ideal as I had anticipated going in. If you want to see more of my mad opinions, you should subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow me on Twitter at KevinThePirate.